Okay, this is a global operation, and it's not just cultural, it's structural. Digital ID systems, biometric tracking, predictive policing. They're building the walls of a digital concentration camp while the streets burn and everyone's too distracted fighting each other to notice who's holding the match. And now the chaos is going international by design. What's started in LA has now morphed into what they're calling the No Kings protest. That's right, this is a big protest that's conveniently coordinated, a rapidly spreading movement that's now reached Europe, Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and South America. Just look at the map right here. France, Italy, the UK, Colombia, and even in Ottawa. This isn't grassroots, okay? This isn't organic. This is coordinated chaos, a clear psyop taking place. The No Kings movement set to take place June 14th, and it's not just going to be in the States, apparently around the world, and they say it's a anti-elite, anti-authoritarian protest. But it's clearly not. This is textbook controlled opposition. The same slogans, the same playbook, destabilizing the nation, unleashing mass outrage, and then the DICs get to roll out the prepackaged solutions, centralized digital control, surveillance, and censorship. All of this is timed precision. The No Kings protest will be filled with retarded leftists who cheered on pandemic mandates and lockdowns. So they love being enslaved and treated like shit, but they just don't want a conservative to do it, okay? So these people are complete morons. Has nothing to do with a authoritarian regime. They're completely okay with an authoritarian regime that's controlled by leftists throwing you in prison for disinformation. They'll be totally fine with that. They just don't want it to have a conservative right-wing flag because it all converges on one date too, June 14th. Trump's birthday, the man born on a blood moon. And this year, that day is being turned into a symbolic megaphone for chaos. According to Axios, over 1,000 protests are planned across the U.S. for June 14 alone. And now, as I've mentioned, it's around the world, making it the largest single-day anti-Trump mobilization since his presidency began. Just look at the destiny map here. Every major city is going to be involved in these protests. And just to top it off, on the exact same day, the Satanic Temple is opening up a Trump-themed abortion clinic in Maine. For those that don't know, Saturday, June 14th is the 250th birthday of the U.S. Army, and that's why there was a military parade scheduled for D.C. There's something really eerie about it. Really, it makes your skin crawl. Something is going to take place. Why do they want so many people? Not just people protesting, but also a lot of military people out there on that date. I mean, could there be something coming? A mass casualty event? They want as many people outside as possible. I did bring that up either last show or before that. I went into detail about even in Canada. They're saying a big event is coming soon. Attempted terror attacks are up 400% or something crazy like that. They just need a big event to drag us into a full-blown war with Iran, which is not surprising. I mean, we've been talking about this here for years now. I mean, aren't they just setting the stage for something to take place? PSYOP season continues, folks, and this is just the beginning.
Mysterious black truck just passed out all of these expensive bionic face shields to protesters in LA, and the news caught it on camera. I zoomed in and found out this is the UVEX bionic shield. These are not cheap. They're around $45 to $65, and you can't just get them in bulk. But one place that sells them is Walmart. And why is that important? Because there's a new protest being promoted called No Kings on June 14th, and even celebrities like Chrissy Teigen are posting it, and it's in magazines and newspapers. And guess who's behind this message? Christy Walton. That's right, one of the billionaire heiresses, a part of the Walmart family. Now, I don't know why they would be behind that protest against President Trump, but remember, just less than 3 weeks ago, President Trump tweeted about the whole tariff situation, saying Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain. Walmart made billions of dollars of last year, far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should, as is said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything.
What are they planning? I mean, do they know an attack is about to come and that's why they're rolling out these tanks by the thousands? Is all of this for a military parade, really? The US is what, North Korea now? Celebrating the Orange Man? So on Father's Day weekend, June circus from hell, Trump's got his ego parade rolling through on Saturday the 14th. Tanks and flags like it's the 4th of July meets the Hunger Games. While across the street, you've got the National Day of Defiance throwing a tantrum on its own. And just to sweeten the chaos cocktail, Israel decides to bomb Iran the other day. Because apparently that's what we do now. You know, you feel a little unsafe and then you bomb another country. And it's crazy. The same week, we got a blood red strawberry moon popping up, which is really interesting because Trump was born on a blood moon. And now we got this whole thing starting to feel less like politics, but more like a cult season. I don't know. There's something highly unusual is taking place, but it kind of makes you wonder about the big one. Okay, a false flag so big that it makes 9/11 seem minuscule. Protests, parades, and perfectly timed coincidences? I don't know. But don't be shocked when something takes place that will justify the building of this golden dome, completing the digital concentration camp, and then at the same time declaring martial law and a full-blown war with Iran. I'm just saying, only time will tell. I'm not saying something will take place on that day because you guys know what I think. If all these people are predicting something will take place on a particular date, usually almost 100% of the time, it doesn't happen. Okay? That's just the case here. Because if something does happen on this day, it will be the most predictable false flag in history. So the element of surprise is gone, that's for sure. So let me repeat, Israel bombing Iran just a few days before Trump's birthday and military celebration is going to take place, and a no king protest taking place that same day. They didn't bomb Iran just a few days before that in some random coincidence. They did it on purpose. Only time will tell, but we're about to find out. This is engineered chaos on a worldwide scale, designed to create the illusion of rebellion, while the same people who spark the fire offer you a digital leash and a QR code as the path to peace. You don't get protests across half the globe on the same day by accident. This is the controlled demolition of national identity and resistance, so they can build a new world order system right on cue. And while cities are erupting in chaos, I mean, LA burning again exactly 33 years after the last time, Ireland slipping into civil war, buildings on fire and children raped while the media plays dumb. Behind the smoke and broken glass, the real power is at play, quietly falling into place here. The European Union just rolled out its international digital strategy, a seemingly boring bureaucratic document that's actually a digital blueprint for global control. It's being sold as a tool for streamlining cross-border commerce and improving mobility, but this is just a smokescreen. They're just sugarcoating it. At its core is the push for centralized digital identity systems, what they're calling digital public infrastructure. And surprise, it's backed by the usual suspects, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, and every other unelected body that wants to run the world without your input. The plan is to sync up digital ID systems across borders, Ukraine, Moldova, parts of Latin America, India, Egypt, Brazil, you name it, all using the EU's so-called digital identity wallet, which according to privacy advocates might as well be a leash with a QR code on it. The goal is mutual recognition of electronic trust services, which is translation, if you're flagged in one country, you're flagged everywhere. Your movement, your speech, your online activity, all tied to one centralized profile. But it doesn't just stop there. The same strategy calls for expanding content regulation under the EU's Digital Services Act, which pretends to protect free speech while giving the state a scalpel to cut out anything it deems misinformation. This includes mandatory platform compliance, risk monitoring, and yes, age verification, all in the name of protecting children. Years back, I showed you documents put out by the WEF saying they will control everything online and they need a digital ID so you can just access the internet, all because of, well, if you don't support that, then you probably support. That was their actual excuse. And now it's actually happening because every surveillance regime needs a good excuse, and that's what they're using here. Even the language they use, like fighting foreign information manipulation and interference, FIMI, and that's just code for criminalizing dissent and erasing alternative narratives. Say something the regime doesn't like, now you're foreign interference. On page 11, they even commit to increasing attribution, meaning they're not just monitoring, they're identifying you, tagging you, and filing you away. And while all this is being pitched as defending democracy, what they're building is a worldwide system of ideological border control. One set of values, one version of truth, one digital identity to rule them all. The EU calls it global cooperation, but what it really is a basically digital imperialism. They're laying the groundwork for a world where you won't be able to speak, travel, or access basic services without plugging into their infrastructure. And by framing it as a necessary step for economic growth and national security, they've made resistance seem irresponsible. But make no mistake, this isn't about safety or innovation. This is about converting the chaos on the ground into obedience in the cloud. You don't get tanks in the streets forever, but you can get a digital ID that makes sure the wrong person never gets on the street to begin with. That's where this is going. They're not just policing your city anymore, they're about to police your existence. And right on cue, Trump just signed a stack of executive orders that take the next step in locking the net around us, this time from the skies. While half the internet cheers like, whoa, this is so cool, flying taxis, like we're going to be living in the Jetsons soon. What actually is happening here is a lot more like Ukraine war footage, okay? Precision drones raining down on targets, except next time it'll be your house flagged by an algorithm for saying the wrong thing. Trump's latest move expands commercial drone use, kills visibility restrictions, and gives law enforcement more power to surveil and control the airspace. One order gives police and public safety officials permission to fly drones beyond visual line of sight, which means you won't even know when they're watching you. Another opens the door to vertical takeoff aircraft for cargo and rescue, which, if you understand what wording they're using, this could easily mean automated lockdown enforcement in rural areas. And the crazy part is he's not just legalizing this tech, he's building a domestic drone industry to replace Chinese supply chains, pushing for mass production, government adoption, and full-blown export to allied nations. So in short, he's laying the foundation for a surveillance economy with drones as a new patrol car, mailman, and airstrike. To sweeten the deal, Trump told the FAA to lock down airspace over critical infrastructure and federal facilities, while the DOJ is now tasked with ramping up enforcement against unauthorized drone activity. In other words, your ability to own or operate drones will be tightly controlled, but the government's ability to use them on you will be unlimited. It's the same pattern every time. They hype the cool toys and ignore the cage being built with them. Commercial drones for innovation, surveillance drones for safety, military-grade AI drones for security events. And just like that, you're living under a grid that never sleeps, never blinks, and never forgets who you are. And just to put the cherry on top here, Trump didn't just talk drones and flying taxis in vague terms. The White House officially confirmed 3 new executive orders designed to fast-track this entire airborne surveillance infrastructure. On paper, it's framed as economic growth and innovation, but the language gives it away. The orders are set to secure our airspace, reduce reliance on adversarial nations, and enable routine beyond line of sight operations. That means you're going to have drones watching you from anywhere at any time under the pretense of keeping you safe. Isn't that interesting? He's signing this executive order. So if anything happens in the future that will give them the green light to use this tech on you soon, well, we know who was behind the false flag, okay? Who benefits? But it does get worse, unfortunately. I'm the bearer of good news here. They're launching a pilot program for flying cars, not for your convenience, but for EMS, air taxis, cargo, and defense logistics. That means military-grade vertical takeoff aircraft will soon be flying low over your neighborhood, tracking you under the guise of emergency response or package delivery. Don't worry about that drone outside, okay? It's just for Amazon. Mix that with AI facial recognition, Palantir behavioral scoring, and digital ID infrastructure, and suddenly your city's not just geofenced, it's airlocked. One line practically screams predictive policing here, okay? Minority report style system incoming. Address the growing threats from criminal, terrorist, and foreign misuse of drones inside US airspace. That's how they always do it. You see that? They scare you with the threat of some vague boogeyman, then implement total surveillance for everyone. You won't be able to sneeze in your backyard without a flying cop drone uploading your face to a federal server. And all of that is being rolled out hand in hand with Silicon Valley. Biometric databases and these digital slavery systems no one asked for. This is the buildout. This is the skeleton of the Techno-prison. It's not coming, it's already here. Just a thought on Twitter says this. Merging Canada and the US is the North American Union. Major role in the NWO. That's right, the Club of Rome book did mention this specifically. The Golden Dome is Skynet. Satellite drone surveillance. Trump is the technocratic Pied Piper, and this message is in-your-face propaganda. That is correct here. Someone did mention mass casualty events, and they're going to need drone ambulances for what's coming. This isn't some isolated policy here. It's the American branch of the same global digital governance system the EU is pushing. Isn't that crazy? All around the world, they're operating the same exact way, working in lockstep like it's COVID again. But this time, digital surveillance tech to track you, tag you, score you, and silence you if necessary, whether by a censored feed, a locked bank account, or one of the Trump's shiny new sky cops armed with facial recognition. It's not just a border wall anymore, it's a biometric air net, and soon there won't be a single place left to hide. And don't you find it weird, convenient even, that right after a global inoculation campaign, where they literally threatened your livelihood if you didn't take a death shot for a virus they never isolated, now the same tech messiahs who championed it, that's right, Musk, Gates, and the Schwabian overlords are turning around and calling it the Great Dying. Musk's out here warning of a population collapse like he didn't spend the last 3 years promoting mRNA jabs that just so happen to sterilize you, suppress testosterone, and spike miscarriages. But hey, if humanity's on its way out, who's going to replace us? Well, funny you ask, because Amazon's not wasting any time here. They're already building what they call a humanoid park in the US, an actual testing ground for bipedal delivery robots that can spring out of Rivian vans to drop off your packages. Straight out of the van, straight onto your porch, no human interactions required. The software is being developed in-house, but the hardware is coming from third-party robot manufacturers, basically subcontracted Terminators with warehouse badges. These things are already in trials, people. Amazon's testing them on obstacle courses, then plans to take them on field trips into actual neighborhoods. First, it's boxes. Next, it's biometric enforcement. Highly doubt they'll just stop at prime shipping. Remember what happened to that one robot that glitched out and started attacking a protester? Remember that? Yeah, we are definitely headed for some interesting times here. But this isn't speculation. It's been in motion. Amazon already runs 20,000 Rivian vans, most fitted with surveillance gear. They've partnered with Agility Robotics, whose CEO openly bragged that their Digit robots are helping convert workers into robot managers. So in other words, you're not just being replaced by robots, but you're going to be given a job where you're going to babysit the robots that took your job. And you'll probably be paid in vaccines every hour. Okay, you get a booster shot every hour. Oh, and get this is crazy. Just last year, Amazon got permission to test drones beyond line of sight in the UK. So now the air is covered too. I mean, that's happening over there, over here, all these executive orders being passed at the same time, expanding domestic drone use and relaxing visibility restrictions. And you've got a full spectrum replacement plan. The masses are getting culled and their roles get filled by obedient metal workers who don't sleep, don't ask questions, and don't sue for wrongful termination. So yeah, let's recap here. They inject you with a mystery serum, call the resulting collapse natural, maybe due to climate change, and meanwhile build humanoid delivery agents, AI dispatch systems, and drone-enforced no-go zones. And the people cheering this on, well, they're too hypnotized by sci-fi aesthetics to notice the techno collar tightening around their necks. What you're seeing isn't progress, obviously. None of this is progress, it's population replacement. First with migrants and then eventually machines, whenever the technology is advanced enough. And isn't the timing just a little too perfect? Right as cities explode into chaos, right as governments start openly greenlighting AI surveillance states, Apple swoops in to help with another digital ID. That's right, rolling out a digital passport system straight into your iPhone. What luck! I mean, thank God for Apple. Just as riots spread from LA to Dublin and leaders talk predictive policing, like that's what we need, a Minority Report style pre-crime unit to put us in jail before we commit a crime based on Twitter posts. And now we suddenly get a friendly little update from Cupertino, letting us know that starting this fall, your identity will now live in your phone. iOS 26 will feature passport-based digital IDs, fully integrated with Apple Wallet, and ready for use at TSA checkpoints, apps, and God knows what else. They say it's not replacing your physical ID, so don't worry, which, let's be honest, it's in your phone. So basically that means it's in your bloodstream, okay? This is going to be your digital ID. This is how the system works. Chaos, then control. Stir up enough unrest, enough violence, enough national emergencies, and you can sell any dystopian tool as a security update. And now with Apple joining the team, it's game over for physical autonomy. These aren't just IDs for airports. The plan is full integration, state-issued driver's licenses, age verification for social media, logins for banking, even news access, all routed through a device that tracks you 24/7 and reports back to Big Brother through backdoors they call features. And don't forget who's behind it. Apple's not doing this alone. This rollout is backed by the TSA, which has already confirmed they'll accept these digital passports. The same TSA that helped normalize body scanners and no-fly lists after 9/11 is now merging identity into your phone under the illusion of convenience. Meanwhile, Apple is quietly embedding Find My Location tracking deeper into luggage, boarding passes, and apps, tying your movement and identity into one tidy surveillance ecosystem. See how it works? And at first, it's going to be voluntary until, it's not. The line between optional and required blurs real fast when the infrastructure is already in your hand. This is the final mile of a system built on decades of false flags, biopolitical manipulation, and manufactured panic. The riots justify the rollout. The rollout justifies the crackdown. And the digital ID is the collar. That's the tether. Because once your access to society depends on a corporate-managed, state-approved ID embedded into your phone, you're not a citizen anymore. You're a barcode. Ain't it funny? Technology used to mean advancement, like better cameras, faster processors, something you actually wanted. Now all that just stays the same, and the only thing that gets upgraded is surveillance. That's right, your digital shackles. That's about it. Go buy the new iPhone. It tracks your location, flags your speech, and if you leave your 15-minute city, this one explodes. Welcome to innovation. So as I said last show, the Elon versus Trump feud. Remember that? Told y'all it was fake. I said if they made up, it's confirmation it was total BS. Political reality TV is entertaining, I have to say. For people still stuck in this two-party matrix, one day Elon's calling Trump a security threat. The next he's backpedaling like it was just a quirky meme, that got out of hand. Oh no, sorry guys, I went too far with the jokes, he says now on Twitter. Really, the richest man on earth just accidentally smeared a former president on a federal watch list. Said he was on Epstein's list. That's why he's not releasing the files. Then he says, just kidding. I mean, please. This was a rehearsal, a scripted spat designed to distract the public while Congress shoved through with their BBB 666, the bill that strips states of their rights to regulate artificial intelligence. At the same time, these executive orders are being signed to have drones above your house tracking you, a golden dome system being built. And what a coincidence. I mean, the guy who's building the AI-controlled behavioral scoring grid, I'm pretty sure that's what X is, running satellite surveillance nets, funding humanoid robots, and selling neural interfaces to DARPA just so happens to be playing both sides of the aisle. You think Elon's upset the government handed him the very legal infrastructure that guarantees his monopoly over AI governance? Of course not. He's not just in on it. He's anchoring the same grid here. The same with Trump. All that populist noise, all that drain the swamp talk, it's misdirection. While he signs executive orders building vertical drone fleets, digitizing border surveillance, and hands Palantir the keys to the digital police state. Okay, this is not by accident. People are still busy arguing about whether Trump is a savior or a traitor. But the truth is, both sides here are working for the same exact script. Do you not see the agenda playing out, left versus right? It's not capitalism versus communism, okay? It's demons versus Luciferians. Two wings of the same demonic bird. And for those people thinking Trump was on the Epstein list, well, guess what, guys? Hate to break it to you, but Epstein's lawyer just cleared everything up. David Schoen, who just happened to be hired 9 days before Epstein's miraculous jail cell suicide, said Epstein had no information to hurt President Trump. He specifically asked him, okay? Case closed, because nothing screams integrity like Epstein's lawyer vouching for your favorite swamp drainer, for Mr. Operation Warp Speed. Forget the flight logs, forget the island, forget the weird occult in Trump Tower. If the pedophile's lawyer said it, then Trump's totally clean. And it just so happens to be a coincidence that Trump is enacting every single plan Netanyahu wanted for decades. Okay, total coincidence. One side says they want innovation and free markets. The other side says it's all about equity and sustainability. But both sides lead you to the same digital slavery state. Same goals, same bosses, different masks. They want full spectrum control of speech, movement, money, medicine, land, birth rates, and even your thoughts now. You're not voting your way out of this, okay? Because both sides already agreed. Population must shrink. IDs must be digital. Currencies must be programmable. And you must comply. That's why the UN's Agenda 2030 isn't a warning, it's the instruction manual. The whole good guy versus bad guy script is just to keep you yelling at the actors while the directors tighten the chains. When the show ends and the world government rises, there won't be a hero to save you, just a biometric lock and a message on your phone that says access denied. Isn't it just precious how suddenly, on the exact same day, every major right-wing influencer on X posts an identical copy and pasted talking point? I mean, look at this. Matt Walsh, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec, word for word. Like the demons in charge just updated them on the new script. Ban all third world immigration, legal or illegal. Same phrases, same tone, same net zero immigration branding, like someone in the CIA just handed them a memo that said phase 2 of PSYOP, Nobody asks how this magically coordinated messaging storm appears overnight, but I'll tell you what it looks like. Clear opposition, controlled opposition 101. Reading off the script. First, Biden's border policy floods the country with chaos, then boom, the next guy rolls in with the only solution, a Palantir-style AI grid to sort, tag, and score everyone. Like, sorry folks, it's the only way to keep you safe from all these illegals we accidentally let in. And who shows up right on time to cheer this on? Well, none other than Laura Joomer. That's right. Right after the LA riots heat up, she tweets, "Time to deploy Palantir tech to deal with the illegals." As if that's just a normal sentence to say, out loud in public. Yeah, totally normal. You think she came up with that on her own? This woman is reading the exact script Netanyahu handed her. I guarantee it. If you want to know what's coming next, go right to Laura Loomer's page. It just basically serves like a Economist magazine at this point. She updates you on what's going to happen, and it happens exactly as she says it. Isn't that funny? This is the same woman that said this.
Yeah, it's always the Jews, right? And I'm going to say that. It is always the Jews. It is. And I say that as a Jew myself. I don't understand why the rich Jews of this country are so hell-bent on trying to destroy our country. But for some reason, so many rich Jews have a fixation on trying to destroy America. And it's not an anti-Semitic statement to make. I say that as a Jew myself, okay? I am very pro-Israel. I am a self-identifying Zionist, and I am not hateful towards Jewish people. But I will say as a Jew, the Jews' worst enemy is the Jew themselves. And I am really sick and tired of watching all of these Jews with large amounts of money in our country donate to fund the destruction of our nation and the communist takeover of America. So, okay, listen up, Jews.
So no, I'm not over the top with it. Charlie Kirk even said some of the largest financiers of left-wing anti-white causes have been Jewish Americans. Funny how they can say stuff like that, but the rest of us would be immediately deplatformed for saying the same thing. Like I said, they clearly know a false flag event is coming soon. Not on June 14th like many say, but I believe it's still coming. But I don't think anyone out there knows the exact date unless it's these people right here. And how do I know that? Well, let's check in on the ones who literally were handed the New World Order script. The ones who leak us little tidbits of info like Luciferians practicing the revelation of the method. All on the same day. LOL, people. Like I said, controlled ops. Jumer said, don't be shocked if we have a terror attack on U.S. soil by Iranian proxies. I fear a lot of people are about to be exposed to more Islamic cultural enrichment, in quotes. Millions of Iranian proxies are living in the U.S. We don't even know who some of these people are. I predict we will be attacked. And get this, the same day, Kirk says, keep your head on a swivel. Biden let millions of people into America. Iran might activate some of those sleeper cells against Americans soon. Stay armed. And even Tim Pool, yes, the one and only Shill Pool, Beanie Man, predicts a terror attack will happen on U.S. soil within a few weeks. Why should we take Beanie Boy seriously? Well, just 2 months ago, almost exactly, he had a personal meeting with Netanyahu in D.C. So yeah, false flag incoming. I mean, out of all the people Netanyahu could have a meeting with, he decides to meet with Shilpool. Yeah, I think he was updated on a script, okay? It'll be blamed on Iran. And get this, Israel asked the U.S. to join a military campaign against Iran, but the U.S. rejected the request. All the headlines are saying this. Is this a psyop to pretend like both of them are not on the same side here? Almost like how the U.S. played neutral during World War II until Pearl Harbor. Could a new Pearl Harbor be coming? Something to drag us into war. A senior Israeli defense official just said to destroy Iran's nuclear program, we need intensive assistance from the United States. This is something Israel cannot do alone. Do you see where this is going? Once again, this has nothing to do with a nuclear weapon. It's a total hoax. Just recently, Netanyahu said, we're going to keep going until we destroy Iran's government completely. Because they have 22,000 missiles, he says. So even he admitted has nothing to do with nukes anymore, just missiles in general. And get this, U.S. intelligence assessed just weeks ago that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. The IC, intelligence community, continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program he suspended in 2003. The intelligence community is monitoring if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. Okay, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard said this March 25th, 2025. And now we've got this, breaking, unknown cargo from China heading to Tehran. I mean, what the hell does that mean? Are we already in a proxy war? Has that already started? You think this is about nukes? No, it's about chess pieces. Iran gets mysterious shipments from its bestie China, while Israel is begging the U.S. for military backup. What's in the cargo? I mean, weapons, surveillance systems, biowarfare tech, or maybe just a diplomatic message from the CCP. We're in. Either way, it's a signal. Red lines are being crossed in real time, and the narrative is being set up for mass escalation. Oh, and remember, Elon Musk just 2 years ago posted this. Oh, the irony. as a joke to a meme saying Iran wants war. Look how close they put their country to our military bases. Well, then he deleted that tweet. But like I said, Patriot Act 2.0 incoming, a digital leash after a big event, something that will greenlight the Palantir AI surveillance state. Palantir isn't just some tech company, it's a digital crystal ball for the surveillance state. And no, that's not hyperbole, it's literally named after the Palantir from Lord of the Rings. The black orbs used for telepathic remote viewing across vast distances. In Tolkien's world, these spheres didn't just let you spy, they let the enemy manipulate your mind. That's what the book was about. That's what they said Palantir was. Denethor, I don't know if I'm saying these names right because I've never been a fan of the Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, stuff like that. I never watched any of them, but I'm assuming this is how you pronounce it. Denethor, the steward of Gondor, thought he was using the Palantir to gain strategic advantage, but in reality, Sauron was feeding him carefully curated images of doom and despair, turning him into a paranoid wreck until he lit himself on fire. Yeah, that sounds promising for us. Now flash forward to our reality here, where a man named Peter Thiel, whose name literally unscrambles into the reptile, co-founds a company modeled after the same tech. And we're all supposed to pretend this is just good old Silicon Valley innovation, advancements in technology. Alongside Thiel is Palantir's CEO Alex Karp, who proudly admits their software has helped squash nationalist uprisings across Europe. Yeah. You know, because you need to use advanced Israeli tech on the population to quell those stupid, disobedient protesters because they dare to keep their culture. Yeah, how dare them? But hey, don't worry, Palantir is here to prevent that. Demonic global cult, people. Palantir fuses government, big tech, and intel agencies into one all-seeing, all-knowing, algorithmic eye of Sauron. But looking at the Eye of Sauron here, oh, that looks real cool right there. Can't wait to have one of those in every single one of our houses, just watching us at all time. It's not a company, okay? This is a empire built on metadata and manipulation. They're testing the next phase of this techno-tyranny in Ukraine. Can you believe it? Palantir right now is being used in Ukraine to figure out how they're going to use it on their own citizens soon. This isn't war here. This is a beta test. So whatever's happening in Ukraine is not only a war, but a beta test in full spectrum AI surveillance, drones, wearables, sensors, satellites, all of it, all stitched together by a live 5G grid. In Ukraine, they're saying they're using 5G to check soldiers' vitals, location data, enemy detection, handled by AI parsing heat signatures and social media at the same time. 20 years ago, you could track 10 targets a day, now 300. And that's just with 5G. So now they're already teasing 6G. So that will be slated to be released later this year. So just imagine what happens when they jack the signal and plug it straight into the Golden Dome system back home. Is it for defense, or is it about mentally mapping civilians the same way they scan combatants? Because once this infrastructure is in place, you don't need to deploy troops. You just manage populations through data and perception, like Denethor staring too long into the Palantir, convinced the war was already lost. People today are bombarded with algorithmic-fed fear loops that shape how they think, vote, and obey. Replace magic with machine learning, AI, and you've got mind control at scale. Orwell warned us, but he warned us too accurately to think he's not controlled up, okay? Tolkien romanticized it. Palantir just operationalized it. Just weeks ago, Laura Loomer tweeted, 2025 will be the summer of jihad. Oh, really now? Did Mossad fax you that forecast, Laura? Because now we're suddenly seeing conveniently timed deepfake terror threats, like this hilariously cartoonish AI-generated cave guy named Salad bin Atif al-Awaki. Yeah, that sounds scary. They picked a great name. You can tell AI came up with that name right there. Hey, give me a scary Muslim name of a Al-Qaeda terrorist. And this guy right here was on camera calling for attacks on Trump, JD Vance, and Elon Musk. Can't make this stuff up. The beard wasn't even textured. Looked like it was drawn on with a Sharpie. Looks like an exact copy of Osama bin Laden. And now Senator Tom Cotton. He was tweeting right before this attack took place how Iran is actively building a nuclear weapon. Now, I was writing this down before the attacks took place to mention it on the show. And lo and behold, it happens. But you can tell what's going to happen based on the rhetoric, okay? Trump came out right after him. Remember, this was before the attack, saying he's losing confidence in a deal being made. Oh, you mean the deal you said you'd fix on day one? Remember that? He also said he would get Ukraine and Russia on good terms day one. It would be over. Suddenly, Iran's gone rogue, and we're all supposed to pretend this isn't the same exact script from 2002. How crazy is this? Trump said in February this year he would bomb the hell out of Iran if it doesn't agree to his demands. And, funny how all this works, huh? And once again, if you want to know what's going to happen, go to Laura Loomer's page, okay? Because she said a few days before this actually took place, something big is happening. And then Middle Eastern cyber attacks magically broke out. Kuwait and Jordan suddenly under siege, just as Iran gets framed for building a nuke. Incredible timing. And then the attacks, of course, took place a few days after. But we're supposed to believe that all of this just organically unfolded. But clearly, it's manufactured chaos. This is the age of chaos. Chaos magic, staged panic, and predictive programming dressed up as patriotism. And if you really want to know what happens next, forget the White House press briefings. Just check out Laura Loomer's feed. She's already got it preloaded in Hebrew like a Zionist AI bot. And as for Trump, he's not just compromised, he's on a leash. I don't know what happened on Epstein's Island, but somebody does. And they've got it archived in 4K. Because make no mistake here, this isn't about saving America. This is about using America as a weapon. And once it's done serving its purpose, they'll discard it like every other empire they used and milked till it was nothing left, okay? Netanyahu said he was going to milk the U.S. for everything they've got, and this is what he means by it. Netanyahu even has the nerve to say if Israel falls, the world falls. I wonder what he meant by that. What a threat. And if you still think this is just about politics or tweets, look around. Something big is really playing out here, okay? Oil prices are spiking like it's 2003 all over again. And right before the attacks, 3 countries did get hit with cyber attacks, so they were preparing for something to take place here. So destabilization was happening on time. The perfect catalyst for a regional power keg the public won't question because it's hidden behind a fog of code, proxies, and deepfake terrorists with laughable names, I have to say. And right before the attacks, we knew something was going to happen because the U.S. embassies were being evacuated, like the one in Iraq, for heightened security risks, in quotes. But they want chaos abroad to justify control at home. The borders collapse, the riots erupt, and right as people demand solutions, well, they got the prepackaged solution already ready for you. Biometric ID, AI surveillance, digital currency, predictive policing. That's the main one, actually. Pre-crime units. And a nice little world war to top it all off. Because if nothing else, history has proven one thing. When the system wants to expand power fast, nothing gets the job done quite like a perfectly timed global crisis. Netanyahu himself decided to let it slip like he was a Bond villain. He said, if we fall, and that won't happen, but if we do fall, many parts of the world will fall with us. Translation, if Israel goes down, it's taking everybody else with it. That's not diplomacy. That's geopolitical blackmail. Did they mean they're going to expose everyone on the Epstein list? Or is it the nuclear version of if I can't have her, nobody can? Except this time, the X is armed with Western intel, lobbyist money, and half of Washington's balls in a vice. But to be clear here, Israel has leverage because everyone in power here could be compromised. Trump, all of Congress bought and paid for, Biden as well. It's almost like they were preparing for this moment. Everything they did is like a perfect setup. I told you guys last year that 2024 will be the year they're setting up for the big one in 2025. I mentioned that all of last year. It was the year of Saturn, and I did tell you what was going to take place. Matter of fact, I even said specifically that they need Trump in office before they attack Iran. They need a perfectly blackmailed politician. And I knew that would be Trump. And I mentioned Iran would be attacked, which is not hard to predict. I mean, a lot of people were saying this, but they did need Trump in office for this. Now, just before it took place here, Trump said U.S. personnel are being moved out of areas in the Middle East because it could be a dangerous place. Okay, so as you can see, this was on June 11th. So a lot of people at the beginning, when Israel attacked Iran, a lot of people said they did this behind Trump's back. He had no idea this would take place. He was negotiating peace talks, and those stupid Israelis, they went rogue and attacked Iran. They went against the orders of Trump. Total BS, because that was originally what they were trying to say. And guess what? It came out that Israel worked with Trump to run a disinfo campaign against Iran to trick them that they were going to negotiate peace talks while Israel planned this whole thing and then went right along with it. So the same recycled rhetoric, we knew what the plan was because they had it in documents since 2001. Okay, Iraq, Libya, Syria, and we knew the last domino on the board was Iran. Okay, and the ball is already in Netanyahu's court here. The Jewish donor class that bankrolls both political parties wants this war now. They're not interested in peace talks. They want chaos, instability, and global alignment behind digital martial law. This has nothing to do with nukes. If you think all this has to do with a nuclear program in Iran, you are not paying attention. It's about a regional reset, full spectrum dominance, the greater Israel project. And like always, the price will be paid by the public through war, through inflation, through more rights stripped away under the glow of emergency declarations. And now the mask is fully off. Israel didn't posture this time. They pulled the trigger and launched direct strikes on Iran, hitting senior military leadership and taking out high-level nuclear scientists. It was a surgical blitz. Iran's air defenses were shredded in the first wave, and Israel walked away virtually untouched. This wasn't a warning, it was an assassination mission, and while the press in the West played dumb, acting like this was just tensions flaring, Iran responded by Friday afternoon with a massive counterattack. Friday the 13th, dozens of missiles launched across Israeli airspace, slamming into Tel Aviv, blowing holes through apartment blocks, and pushing the Iron Dome past its limits, or so they say. Why did Israel allow these rockets to go through the Iron Dome? Was it really Iranian missiles? I don't know. Ask yourself who benefits. The public's still trying to piece together what happened, while Israeli officials casually announced that strikes will continue for days, if not weeks. A quiet way of saying, open-endedly, a full-scale war is now here. There's going to be no diplomacy coming anytime soon, no off-ramp. This is the greater Israel project in live fire mode, and the U.S. is still locked in as the permanent support class, collapsing at home under engineered migration waves and economic sabotage while propping up an ethno-state that's been carpet bombing its enemies since the 1990s. And anyone still talking about enriched uranium is either playing dumb or genuinely lost. Israel has been claiming Iran was 5 years away from a nuke since 1995. That's 3 decades of fake countdowns. It's kind of like the climate change BS about how the world is going to end in a few years, ever since the 1970s. First ice age incoming, now global boiling. Same thing here. This isn't about nuclear threats. It's about eliminating the last sovereign resistance to regional dominance. It's the same thing they tried with Syria. Assad wasn't some cartoon villain. He was one of the few left in the region keeping the Wahhabi lunatics and the US-backed mercenaries in check. Christians could actually live in Syria under Assad until Israel and its proxies decided regime change was more important than human life. They destabilized Syria, the entire country, collapsed it, helped funnel in jihadist groups, and then acted shocked when churches were burned and Christians were beheaded in the streets. That wasn't collateral, it was intentional. Now they're rerunning the same formula with Iran. And back in the US, the bread and circus continues. Trump's always been compromised. He was part of that circle for decades. Epstein's Island wasn't a mystery. It was a Mossad blackmail operation designed to trap and control Western power brokers, especially the ones needed to advance Israel's agenda. That's why the moment Tel Aviv drops bombs, every Western politician posts the same exact statement of solidarity. Look at this. Insane, people. Like, they all got the script handed out in advance. Same exact wording, same timing, same leash. Every right-wing influencer are totally on the same script. From Matt Walsh to Jack Posobiec, I mean, you name it. Now, in times like these, years can happen in just a few days. Okay, because by the time I upload this, all this information could be completely old if, let's say, China invades Taiwan. Then people are going to be like, why are you talking about Israel attacking Iran? It'll be that quick because sometimes nothing happens in a few weeks and other times years happen in a few hours. And I believe that is the time we are in right now. Very volatile situation in not just the Middle East, but around the world. I just posted this tweet here in a worst case scenario. And who knows, by the time I upload this, all of this could actually happen. Well, Iran has officially struck Tel Aviv. Residential buildings hit. Worst case scenario. Hezbollah opens up a northern front. Houthis target ships in the Red Sea. Iraqi militias hit U.S. bases. Iran's ring of fire ignites. The U.S. is dragged in. NATO follows. China sees the perfect moment to move in on Taiwan. Russia goes scorched earth on Ukraine. World War pops off. And worst of all, GTA 6 gets delayed again. That's right, people. And if that happens, well, Palantir's creepy CEO, Alex Karp, gets his prophecy fulfilled. Last year, he said the US would soon be engaged in a three-front war against China, Russia, and Iran. And now, like clockwork, that exact scenario is playing out. Damn it! How did he know? Not because he saw the future, but because the future was already written. Refer back to the Albert Pike prediction about the Third World War. Crazy how that's happening, huh? The deeper truth is this. They don't fear collapse, they plan it. They've been planning it for a while, and what comes after is this digital surveillance state. Digital passports to access society. Israel may threaten to drag the world down with it, but the demonic parasites that rule over us already built the net that will catch them. They make sure the average person like me and you are in the blast radius when this agenda pops off. Build back better with Israel at the head of the New World Order. But here's something hilarious. New York Times just did something wild. They basically admitted, without meaning to, that Israel's actions are directly fueling global anti-Semitism. Well, ain't that some shit? Thomas Friedman, the regime's loyal gatekeeper, comes out with a headline like this. This Israeli government is a danger to Jews everywhere. Oh, that's crazy. What he means is Israel's making it really hard to keep up the victim narrative when everyone can see the body count in Gaza, killing around 30,000 children. Isn't that crazy? You can talk shit about blacks, whites, Mexicans, but you say anything about Jews and your bank accounts get frozen? It's peak inversion, people. They're warning Jews that the state that claims to protect them is actually endangering them. But the solution isn't to stop the madness, it's to manage the optics. That's what the article talks about. Let's pull out a few generals and say, we're concerned. So when the backlash hits, we can say, see, not all of us supported it. It's just brand damage control for Zionism, a preemptive PR move to separate good Jews from bad Israel. Now that Gaza's basically a crater, okay? And just like that, the mask slips. They admit the war serves political and personal interests. They say Israel broke ceasefires on purpose. They openly say children are being vaporized and nobody in government cares. But don't you dare notice too hard. After all, remember what happened to Weird Mustache Man for noticing too much? Funny how that guy pointed out how there is this coordinated power network and it's leading to mass death, and now he's demonized forever. But when the New York Times says it, it's thoughtful dissent. Yeah, they're saying the quiet part out loud, people. Israel's not defending the Jews, it's making them global targets. And if history repeats itself, this time it'll be biometric profiling, social scoring, instead of broken shop windows. But the same people will be behind the curtain, crying victim while pulling off the next false flag. And now it's come out that Iran will target regional bases of any country that defends Israel. And now US is actively involved in shooting out Iranian missiles from the sky. Who knows what comes next, but we do know who's compromised based on the words they use. Tommy Robinson for the win here, I guess. He says, free the people of Iran. He is in full solidarity with Israel. You know, the same guy that talks about how he hates these illegals, these immigrants, these Muslims that are destroying our country, but yet doesn't bring up the policies in which that are bringing these people here. There definitely is a coordinated plot to destroy your country, Tommy. There are people that are actively trying to bring in as many people as possible to destroy your nations. There are 40,000 American troops stationed in the Middle East at the very moment. So right now, Iran is threatening to attack military bases in the Middle East. But what if something happens on June 14th, a mass casualty event? Not just on that date, but after. I don't believe that something is going to happen on that particular date, only because everyone is saying it is. I just can't expect those in charge to be so dumb they pull off a false flag on a date everyone is expecting it. So then they lose that element of surprise. But if it does, there's going to be a top-down government control that we've never seen before. But all of this is not new. Let me introduce you to Rex 84, short for Readiness Exercise 1984 Bravo. Back in the Reagan era, FEMA, the Pentagon, and 34 federal agencies ran a secret continuity of government drill that gave the president the power to detain over 500,000 immigrants and 4,000 U.S. citizens the moment a national emergency was declared. The excuse? Label them subversive and ship them off to detention camps on military bases. No trial, no due process, just camps and silence. The plan was so shady that when it was finally brought up in the Iran-Contra hearings, Oliver North's lawyer panicked and shut it down live on air. Congressman Jack Brooks tried to ask if the whole thing involved suspending the Constitution. He was silenced. Executive session only. What triggered all this? The possibility of unrest if the U.S. invaded Central America. That's it. They even trained state militias and funneled weapons through civil defense exercises, which conveniently ended up in the hands of CIA front groups, used to fund the Contras in Nicaragua in violation of the Boland Amendment. So no, none of what we're seeing today is new. It's just been digitized. FEMA becomes Palantir, martial law becomes predictive policing, the camps become cloud databases, and instead of knocking on your door, they'll just lock you out of the system. Your vaccine passport doesn't scan. Your digital ID gets flagged. You're labeled a threat to democracy by a machine learning model trained on Twitter arguments and Reddit posts. Rex 84 wasn't abandoned, it evolved. It became the template for the modern technocratic lockdown machine, a system designed to activate during chaos, just like the one we're watching unfold right now. You won't hear the words martial law anymore. You'll just hear terms of service violation or safety protocol breached. But the outcome is going to be the same: total control during crisis and no way out unless you comply. First, it's deport the illegals. Then it's scan your face to prove you're not one. Then suddenly your neighbor is on a no-fly list for questioning a war. Rex 84 didn't disappear. They just digitized it and swapped the buses for drones. And why are they so desperate for war all of a sudden? What happened to slow killing everyone with endless boosters and microplastic sandwiches? I guess the injections weren't thinning the herd fast enough. So now it's time to break out the big toys. Nothing speeds up a reset quite like a good old-fashioned world war. I mean, you get the food shortages, the financial collapse, the emergency laws, the biometric rationing grids, the population displacement, and the collapse of national identities, all rolled into one convenient catastrophe.